I don't have any Part A items for you, but I would like to point you to a couple of things that have been raised in this report. And item 2.2 talks about Barrington Mall, this is an ongoing issue in our ward. It's parking issues and traffic issues. The board hasn't been able to resolve anything by its own actions. We've asked for and are awaiting legal advice. This is something of ongoing frustration to our community. There's also bus issues around this mall, so I wanted to point you to that. Point you to also to item 8. It mentions a St Martin's Opawa toy library, amongst other things. And as far as I'm aware, they are the largest toy library in the South Island, and they are one of many community groups that's had to move between temporary premises post-quake. They have had to move 5 times. I think another time they're going to break. And that highlights for me the need for the use of the distribution centre on Colombo Street, and that's been pointed to by our board before as a potential site for housing community groups. And finally, I wanted to point you to items 13 and 20 that features Lincoln Road, Addington. As many of our reports do, I just wanted to point out that the board remains very strongly opposed to additional 4-laning of Lincoln Road. So we think it will have a severely detrimental effect on the increasing social capital there. And I want to point to the impact of Brougham Street going through Waltham, Sydney and Addington in the 1970s, and what a negative effect that has had. And that's my report, unless there's any questions.
Thank you. Who would like to move that? I think Tim Scandrett and Phil Clearwater. Yanni?
Is there a plan to 4-lane Lincoln Road?
NZTA is, as I'm aware, is planning to continue 4-laning both ways down Lincoln Road.
From Hagley Ave to...
Well, that's our fear. We haven't confirmed that there will be 4-laning from Whiteley Ave, Clarence Street through to the city, but that's what we fear is coming.
Can we get some advice on this? Because I didn't know it was State Highway 1.
Sorry, what was the addresses?
I'll have to check exactly which intersections it was planned for. I think it's certainly in the long term.
Okay,
So this is in the 3-year plan that was signed off last year?
It's in the 10-year plan, so it's set outside our council.
We don't have a 10-year plan.
We don't have a 10-year plan at the moment.
Well, it was in the previous.
Why would NZTA be doing it?
It's not. It's a mistake. It's not NZTA, it's the council.
Yeah, and I've been under the impression that it is NZTA that has been pushing that.
They can only do it on their road, so it's not their road.
That is good news as far as the community board is concerned.
Well, no, because the council previously had it on its agenda, so presumably it will come up in the long-term planning process, which begins again this year. So be aware.
Well, the good news.
Tim.
Is there an area-wide traffic management plan for Addington that's being worked on?
We have asked for an area-wide traffic management plan. There has been a parking plan that was worked on by formerly Community Board Chairperson Clearwater and with Megan Woods MP. And there is further traffic management planning looking at the wider area around Middleton as well. But I am not aware of an overall traffic management plan.
Is there a need for one? Should we pass a resolution to get one? I mean, there's so much development happening here that to me it seems like it needs a holistic look at.
I'd like to take Phil Clearwater first because...
I think to resolve what you're referring to, Yanni, the second Hill Morton plan, that might be able to be extended to include this part of Lincoln Road, that's all. But there are, I guess, step-by-step management plans, and if we're referring to a wider one for the whole Hill Morton Addington area, perhaps they do need to be joined up.
Including Middleton.
Exactly, yes.
Tim?
Just to go back to the 4-laning of Lincoln Road, if you go and look at the corner of Lincoln Road where it meets Whiteley Ave and Barrington Street, it's 4-lane, and logic would say that if you've got Hallsville Road going on to Lincoln Road, etc., up to that point, would be a plan somewhere to expand the rest of it from between Whiteley Ave and Morehouse Ave. It's been spoken to and talked about for a long time, and I think Paul raised the concern of what Brown Street did, especially to Waltham, which I know personally, but also Addington and others. It's certainly changed those environments quite drastically. With regards to a traffic management plan for the entire area, I'd be surprised if there was one, because when we talked to NZTA with regards to extending the southern motorway into Braham Street, we took out one set of lights to basically bring the first set of lights when the southern motorway comes into Christchurch onto Selwyn Street, and look at the mess that is. So thank you.
So how do we get NZTA and the council and elected members involved in this kind of planning process?
Well, as previously, last year, there's been a whole lot of work done around the whole of the road network, because part of it started up through the urban development strategy work with our other partners. I can't remember exactly what the group was called, but there is a forum where a lot of that work was discussed at a political level.
So where do we, I mean,
I'll let you know what that body was.
okay, but how do we progress it? You know, I mean, it's an issue that needs further work, no question. So could we use your report to report back on what the process will be in order to address these, because they are now quite complex, and some of them are exacerbated temporarily, but temporary is going to be a long time. So it does need some careful thought about how we manage traffic flows in these areas, because they will calm down once other things happen, but as I say, that could be years away. Yep.
A lot of work has been done on parts of it, but
Yep.
You only referred to a whole traffic management plan for the whole area, and I'm just wondering if the information we're seeking, if in fact that might be able to advise a future traffic management plan for the whole area, so we join it up. So once we get that information as to how we do it, we look at
Let's
asking for
get
a
Jane
plan.
to bring the information to council about where we've got to and a suggested process for how we progress it. But thank you very much for bringing that. Yep.
The issue that you raised about community groups not having places to operate from, in particular the toy library, the distribution centre, you mean the one by Beckenham
Yes.
Library? How big is that?
It's very big.
Yeah.
It still has a big crane for moving pipes in it that was bought for the old purpose of and it currently houses paper items for distribution around the city. It's essentially a warehouse.
So it's a warehouse, basically.
Yeah, and it's, I would say it is, the footprint of it would be 400 square metres. Probably about 400 or 500 square metres.
Has your community board done any work on the relocation of the warehouse aspect so that the building could be used differently?
We have had discussions. Councillor Clearwater was involved with former Councillor Corbett around this issue, but there has been raised that the warehousing of those items, there's no reason why it has to be at Colombo Street.
Phil?
Yes, at one stage it was certainly looked at very hard, and because of that being a warehouse rather than a purposeful building, I understand, my recollection is there was a decision by certainly the community board, and I think signed off by council, to get a report on the feasibility of a purpose-built building and the land adjacent to and south of that distribution centre. That's my recollection. I'm not sure where that report has got to, that's all.
But again, could we use Jane's report to get an update on that issue?
I think getting an update on the issue would be really useful.
Because, if there's a solution that we can find, accommodation's really, there's a lot of pressure on community groups for that reason, and not just of availability, but of price. So if we can assist in that regard, then I should. But retrofitting warehouses is not always as easy as it sounds. But then again, some community groups are actually quite happy with the sort of kind of almost funky retro look of a warehouse environment that might be quite different to what they'd imagined would be their office accommodation or their facilities accommodation in the past. I'm also concerned about the access to the Colombo Mall, to the Barrington Mall there, and some of the other issues that you've raised around that. And I think that might be also worthwhile to put on the list of things to report back on. Sorry, I mean,
My understanding is that report should be coming back to the board very quickly.
Your report has turned into this wonderful way of finding out where things are up to.
Can I just check with you? My understanding is that report is due to the board at maybe your next meeting?
No, I don't know that it is coming. I've heard that it may be coming. It's not coming to the next board meeting. Well, I've just got a list of things that are coming, but I know that it is being discussed.
But if we've got it on Jane's list, she can just give us a quick update as to where is it up to, and that I think would certainly satisfy us. So, are there any other questions? I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed say no. That's carried. Thank you very much.